Here we are in front of the ninth of the windows that we're looking at. And this picks up the theme, O ye seas and floods, bless ye the Lord, and is an amazing picture of Jesus calming the storm. And it's full of blues and the most intense purples and mauves and violets. And there's a sense of the waves sweeping around, but also a sense of the heavens themselves being populated with spirits. So you have figures that kind of emerge and disappear into the storm clouds, and you have disciples in various states of disarray, and then standing in the stern with his hand raised is Christ kind of staring down at the waters.
It's interesting. It's almost like he's blessing them with his hand.
Yeah,
raised like that.
It is. Yeah.
It's fascinating how they're all looking in different directions. It really adds to that feeling of chaos, doesn't it? And one of the disciples reaching into the sort of clinging on to that bit of the mast that has broken off into the water.
And the more you look at it, the more you see little bits of detail. So in the waves there are fish and sort of sea monsters. And it really is as if there's a tumult and a chaos. And I guess it's hard to not think of some of those other chaos, like we've had Noah, or we think of creation.
Yeah, it really speaks to that the painting with Noah and the sons. Sort of echoes that the floods in the background, doesn't it? But much more green. It's a lot more green than blue, isn't there?
And it's interesting that the boat is green.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm not quite sure about why. I guess, visually it means that the boat doesn't stand out. So you have...
the focus is on the figures.
That's right, and you almost have a sense that the figures are drowning, that they're almost...
The boat has become part of the sea already.
Yeah.
I'll just read the text. So we're reading from Mark chapter 4, verse 35. On that day, when evening had come, he said to them, "Let us go across to the other side." And leaving the crowd behind, they took him with them in the boat, just as he was. Other boats were with him. A great windstorm arose, and the waves beat into the boat, so that the boat was already being swamped. But he was in the stern, asleep on the cushion. And they woke him up and said to him, "Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing?" He woke up and rebuked the wind and said to the sea, "Peace, be still." Then the wind ceased and there was a dead calm. He said to them, "Why are you afraid? Have you still no faith?" And they were filled with great awe and said to one another, "Who then is this, that even the wind and the sea obey him?" It's really interesting that the part of the Benedicite is about seas and floods, because if you read any commentary on this story, they'll automatically talk about the Old Testament symbolism behind the story, and being a representation of God's power over chaos, which is represented by sea.
Right. And I wonder if it's interesting looking at it sitting alongside the previous window, which is the temptation of Christ in the wilderness, where the same colours in the sky representing, I think it was sort of temptation to evil spirit or good spirit, are picked up again. So in the sky you have these spirits, and it's as if I wonder if the very stillness of Jesus is in some way meant to represent this decision that we've already seen in the temptation window, that actually he is God's agent, and therefore these spirits that are kind of busy, but they're actually behind him. Their time has now ended. And here is the one in whom the power of God is at work.
It's interesting visually. There's sort of almost like a point, in some of the other paintings we've seen an arc.
Yes.
Whereas here it's much more pointed, isn't it? Like a pyramid shape.
Yeah, it goes much to the sort of the tip of the mast, or what's left of the mast.
But the pinks and purples are certainly a running motif, aren't they, in the other windows?
They are.
representing the spiritual realm. And even the dove at Jesus' baptism is in that same colour.
Yeah.
It's funny, on the left panel, the figure there in pinky purple is more orangey.
Yeah.
I wonder what that figure's doing. It looks like it's kneeling into the lap of the other one.
It does.
Very strange, isn't it?
And they've got wings, or at least some. Yes, they look like they've got wings, don't they? Feathered wings. And one is holding a staff or something.
Yeah.
It would be fascinating to kind of, I don't think we have the material, but it would be fascinating to understand what the sources were that Strachan was using that informed. And the other thing that is really striking by now is his way of doing faces. It's very simple, but actually incredibly expressive. Because it's really just a few lines. It's almost like a line drawing of a face.
And Jesus in this picture is absolutely straight.
Yes.
And he's the only part of the picture that is absolutely straight, but everything else is tossing and turning, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just this sort of peaceful figure.
And the master's snapped.
Yes.
So he's the solid bit.
And actually thinking about the other paintings and the relationship between heaven and earth and the in a sort of a spatial way, is interesting that his hand is raised and he is the sort of the conduit, if you like, from heaven to earth.
And his hand is actually breaking through into almost where the spirits are.
Yeah.